Hello friends, welcome to Easy Learning Economics. I am Dr. Kaval. Today we shall talk about mercantilism. In this lecture we shall cover that what is definition of mercantilism, what are the characteristics and features of mercantilism, and what factors do contribute towards mercantilism, and what are the reasons or the causes of failure of mercantilism. Finally, we shall summarize each and everything, and we shall use the keywords here that will be helpful to define mercantilism. So all these things we shall cover in this lecture. What is mercantilism? Mercantilism was an economic system of trade that was dominant during 16th to 18th century. Most of the European economists who wrote between 1500 and 1750 are today generally known as mercantilists. They didn't know their contributions towards economic ideology, but the word mercantilism was coined by the Marcus de Fabio in 1763 and was popularized by Adam Smith in 1776 in his book Wealth of Nation. Thomas Mann, who was born in 1571 and passed away in 1641. So Thomas Mann was a major creator of mercantile system, and others notable mercantilists include the English writers William Petty, John Locke, Sir Joseph Child, and French minister Jean-Baptiste Colbert and Jacques Necker. Mercantilism involved the government regulations. Mercantilism is an economic practice whereby the government use their economies to boost state power at the expense of other economies. Mercantilists were of belief that power of the country could be judged by the possession of the scarce resources like gold and silver that could help to build strong military and purchase essential goods. The government ensures trade surplus and strongly desires to accumulate wealth in the form of gold and silver. What were the features of mercantilism? High tariff, especially on the import of manufactured goods. Mercantilists forbidding colonies to trade with other nations and among each other. There was a ban on the export of gold and silver even for payments. There were limited wages, restricting domestic consumption through non-tariff barriers like quotas, license, etc. were universal features of mercantilist policies. Mercantilists gave importance to trade in terms of export especially. Protectionism was also developed as heavy tariff was imposed on imports. The mercantilist said the value of product of society was created at the time of sale, and seller exchanged his product for more money. Mercantilist theory was a zero-sum theory, means the gain in the trade by one was at the loss of another economy. The objective of mercantilist was to build the state, and state would further strengthen an economy and weaken foreign adversaries. They had a strong desire for more exports and less imports. How did mercantilism work? Mother country accumulated wealth in the form of gold, silver and precious metal and grew in power. Mother country did import raw material at low prices from other nations and colonies and export finished product at high prices and collected gold and silver. There was a ban on the trade among colonies. Kingdoms wanted to get a big share of GDP by accumulating wealth as possible by exporting the largest possible quantity of products and importing as little as possible and ensure the balance of trade surplus and favorable terms of trade. To increase their peace, they believed to bring a decrease in the rival peace. Does mercantilism still work or not? Still, some of the countries are following this theory and are known as new mercantilists because they modified the classical mercantilist ideas like Taiwan, India and US are practicing protectionism policy to nurture the domestic industries. They provide subsidies on export industries to increase export and levy high tariff to restrict import. They discourage the usury, overcharging interest on money lending. What are the contributing factors towards mercantilism? Different factors contributes towards mercantilism. It means the economic factor like shifting of an economy from agriculture to manufacturing sector, introduction of money and replacement of the barter system, and increased importance of money and start of banking system, expansion of industrial base in development of infrastructure caused and shaped the mercantilism. What are the political factors that contributes towards mercantilism? Decline of feudalism and replacement of feudalism into nationalism and dictatorship and monocracy, and by the use of army to make powerful monarchs and sovereignty. Use of navigation laws for earning gold and silver. We discussed these, the political and economic factors. Here we are discussing the scientific factor which contributed towards mercantilism, that invention and innovation through an advanced technology and printing press helped in rising trade. Maritime discoveries include the discovery of America and new sea route to India by the use of mariner compass opened up the new gates of trade, led in expansion of trade at the global level. So the cultural factors, religious factors, lack of state organization, need for self-governing nation, industrial base in Europe, government support to monopolists, rise of commercial capital are responsible factors for rising mercantilism. Why did mercantilism fail and what the critics has been made on mercantilism? The failure of government and market to provide everything that colonists needed. The smuggling means illegal trade of colonies with other nations failed the mercantilism. Lack of freedom. The colonies were not allowed to trade with other nations and there were exploitation of colonies by mother country. Mercantilists failed to understand the theory of absolute and comparative advantage of trade and created monopolies and reduced overall trade and specialization. The theory of absolute advantage which was given by the Adam Smith, that the trade is performed on the basis of absolute advantage. It means the efficiency of economy to produce something by using few resources than rival. Theory of comparative advantage, it means the most of the trade is done on the basis of the comparative advantage, that the efficiency of an economy to produce something at lower opportunity cost. The restriction upon colonies not to make finished product, but colonies were bound to provide raw material, and additional law on colonies to collect duties failed this mercantilism. In France 1750 to 1780, Physiocracy or the laissez-faire economy introduced. Laissez-faire economy, there was no involvement of the government in economy. Adam Smith in his book Wealth of Nation introduced the concept of naturalism, invisible hand and theory of absolute advantage. Adam Smith criticized over the mercantilist theory of mercantilism or commercialism, that it is not rational to measure the power and strength of an economy on the basis of accumulation of precious metal like gold and silver, and long-term positive balance of trade would lead an economy towards circumstances of inflation. Modern economists rejected this idea of accumulation of gold and silver to rise a zero-sum theory and propounded the positive sum theory, that trade can make everyone better off. We are here summarizing overall lecture. It means the mercantilism was trading system in 16th to 18th century. The aim and objective was to promote the national wealth and power by government regulation. The country power was measured by accumulation of gold, silver and precious metal it possessed. Importance was given to trade surplus, and trade surplus results an increase in the net inflow of gold and led to greater national wealth. Mercantilists encouraged exports and discouraged imports. Trade was zero-sum game, means gain in trade by one country is at loss of another economy. Mercantilists avoid economic dependency. Mercantilism was earliest theory of economics between 1500 to 1750, and this is theory of trade or theory of protectionism. Government provides subsidy to export promoting companies. There was high tariff on import. There is a ban on the mobility of factor of production, and the mercantilist failed to provide support to another economy to make better of our economy and worse off another economy like British colonial empire. So here we are using the keywords to define mercantilism. So the trading system, objective, measurement of power, trade surplus, and zero sum game, high tariff, better off, worse off, the export, import, bullion like precious metal, gold and silver, monopoly, self-sufficient, regulation, colonialism, protectionism, corruption, and market inefficiency. These words can be helpful to define mercantilism. I hope you have better knowledge about mercantilism and you have enjoyed this lecture. Thanks for watching. See you soon in the next lecture.